In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a powerful exercise that will help you align with the best version of you. I'm going to be using metaphors. I'm going to be using stories that help you to be the vibration that you prefer to be. Welcome back to another video. My name is Aaron and I help people expand their consciousness. Now in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you a powerful exercise that you can apply, that I recommend you apply every day that you do something consistently. So maybe it's like you go to your job every day, and when you go to your job, there's a certain mentality that you can have when you go in. There's a certain type of vibe that you can bring to the table, certain kind of attitude, and there's a certain way that you can use the power of language, the power of thought, in order to prime you for that state of being to then have an amazing day. Now, here's the thing. State of being is like the most important thing. It's the thing that for a long time I was always focused on the thinking. I used to have, before I was a full-time YouTuber, and I've been doing this for about a year now, a little over a year. And before that, I worked a sales commission job at Barney's, New York. So I sold women's shoes. And then before that, I worked at Nordstrom. So I sold women's shoes for a while I was going to college. And when I was doing that, what I did is I'd go in every day. It was a commission job. So I was able to see the correlation every day between what I think and what I experience. The cool thing is that this was when I learned the law of attraction. So I learned the law of attraction probably 2 years into selling, and then I was able to use that as my playground. Every single day I'd go in, you start at zero every day, and what you do is you then focus on, I could see the different ways my energy was to what I would sell for the day. So there'd be some days that I would sell a whole bunch. I would make like, we got 10% commission. So if I sold $4,000 to $5,000 worth of shoes, I'd make $400 or $500. And there were days that I'd go in, and if I felt really resistant, then maybe I'd only sell like $1,500 worth of stuff, which means I made $150. So it's like there's a big range, you can make a lot, or then not as much, And I'd go in every day, and I was able to see that correlation, and I was able to use that as my playground, because when I learned the law of attraction, that's what I did. So the cool thing about that was I was aware of certain patterns, and I was aware of certain things. And one thing that I used to always do is I used to prime myself for this state of being. I remember this, some kind of random I used to always do. I used to always go around. Do you guys remember the movie or the show Jersey Shore back in the day? It's like something you watch now and you're like, I can't believe I used to watch that. That I used to watch back in the day. And there was that guy that used to go, oh yeah, he would go like that. So I used to go around at work and I would say that just randomly, and it would prime me into the state. I just thought it was funny, and there was like other people that thought it was funny too, so we would it was like a joke that we used to say, but I used to go around and just say that, and it would just prime me to be in a good mood. Now, the thing is to have an amazing day, an important part of the process is how are we priming ourselves? There's certain anchors that we have, that certain body movements that we have, and our physiology powerfully affects the kind of day that we have. So the first part of this video is I just want to share with you, set yourself a trigger or set yourself like an anchor for you to be that kind of way. So an anchor means like some type of physical activity that you do that primes you to be in a certain way. Now, as I said, the physiology is what kind of determines how we feel. So it's like if I were to ask you to imagine right now what a very confident person looks like, you'd probably imagine them as like the Superman or Superwoman pose, their chest out, their chin level. They're like confident. If I were to ask you to imagine someone that's not confident, you'd probably imagine someone that's like looking down, talks a little bit slower, not a lot of passion. You can feel these just by thinking about what that is. But if what you do is you imagine the you that is the most energetic version of you, then what you can do is start to model that. Even if you don't really feel it in the moment, maybe you're at your house, you're getting ready for work, and you're like, oh man, I gotta go to work today, I gotta go do this. But you can just kind of snap out of it and then put yourself into the state that you want to be in. And then what you do is you start to embody what you would look like. So you could even just get into a power pose. I mean, they've even shown that if you get into a power pose for just a minute or two a day, it changes the physiology of your body. It changes the neurochemistry and changes the hormones that you feel. So for example, you stand in a power pose like this, which means your hands at your hips like this, your chest out, your hips tucked in, your chin level, and you stand like this for 2 minutes a day, you increase the serotonin and the dopamine, and you decrease the amount of cortisol, which is the stress hormone. So you increase the good feeling and you decrease the bad feeling hormones. So that's something we could do every day as well. Now, what I want to do is to share with you just a couple there's a lot of power in stories, and there's a lot of powers also in that of metaphors. So what I wanted to do is to kind of have this video, something you could always come back to prime yourself for feeling empowered and knowing that you can go into work every day, you can go do whatever you got to do every day in a peak state and feeling really good about what you do, and knowing that it's as simple as you setting yourself a trigger, of you setting yourself and creating this anchor. And that's something that has really changed my life, because I set an anchor. I mean, there's an anchor every time I film a video, and it's the thing that you even see it. I go, hello, welcome back. My name is Aaron, and I help people expand their consciousness. When I do this is an anchor. This is an anchor, and I've practiced it before where I'm in the middle of like a store or something, and I could do that, not care what people think. I could do it and then go like that and then feel in that flow state. So I've done 700, 800 videos on YouTube, or more, because I've done other videos as well, and it's just very easy for me to do. So that's something you can do as well. Now, through the power of stories, one of the reasons I like to read biographies of people, of successful people specifically, is because it puts me into the state that they're in. It puts me into understanding their mindset and the way they are, because then I can also be a similar way. So, for example, I just want to share with you maybe a day that I went into work, and a day that I went into work that I just had an amazing day, right? And now I have my own business, and I do what I do full time. But back when I had a job, I worked at Barney's New York. It's the last job I had before I went full time doing what I do now. And I remember going in one day, and I just had this carefree attitude. That was one thing that I learned. So what I would do is I'd go into work, and it wasn't so much that I was like trying. I noticed that the days I would really try for certain things and I'd really intend powerfully and I'd take it very serious were days that I also at the same time created a lot of resistance. Because then if things didn't happen the way I thought they should, then I would create that resistance. But I remember one day I went into work, and what I decided is, you know what, today the primary focus is just going to be having fun, connecting with customers and having fun, because I would help people that would come in. A lot of the customers were obviously very wealthy because they were buying shoes that were priced between $700 on the average price point, all the way up to a couple $1,000s for one pair of shoes. So it was like I realized that it was about the state of being, right? So I remember the thing I would always do is I'd focus on making them increase their state, making them feel better. So I would go in and I'd start off by just having fun with myself. Just self-amusement is something that is so powerful. So I would go in and I'd kind of be joking around with myself. I'd be laughing at little things. And I'd have coworkers around. I worked with about 4 or 5 different people, sometimes more, in the department that I worked in women's shoes. And I would just kind of laugh around with them, just have a good time. And it would increase my state. And I remember there were customers that would come in, and this particular day, it was just like I was always in the right place at the right time. There'd be a customer that came in, and the thing is you weren't able to help one person at a time. You weren't able to have like 2, 3 customers while someone else had none. You had to pass off the customer if you already had one, and there was someone else standing around, unless they weren't around. But I was helping a customer, and there was just going really good interaction. And then right after that, they would buy something for like $600 to $800. Then right after that, I'd pick up another customer almost immediately. There was just this flow, this dynamic flow where things happened very effortlessly. And I remember that what happened throughout that whole day is my state just kept increasing. My state just kept increasing. And as it did, I just felt good. And even if like a customer came in and they didn't buy, I was okay, because I knew it was more about the connection. It was more about the state of being. And as long as I felt good, I knew that it would be there for the day, that I would do well. Those are the days that I did the best. The days I did the best is when I was feeling good for the sake of feeling good. When I was having fun. Everything just was always in alignment. I was always in the right place at the right time. Now, that's the main, and the thing is too, is because I wasn't attached to the outcome so much. I was more of, and I would still have an intention to sell a certain amount, but I was more of focused on the connection. I was more so focused on the state of being. And anytime I go straight for the state of being, everything goes very well. Even while doing these videos, if I have an intention that I'm going to make this amazing video that goes viral, it doesn't do as well as if I'm like, this is just something I'm passionate about, it's something I want to speak about, it's something that I can feel come through. It has a different level of energy. State of being is what is important for your day. Now let me share with you a little story of something that happened at my job that seemed like a negative thing that I turned into a positive because of my mindset. And maybe as you go into your job today or wherever you work, you can also see how you can apply this as well, because I think stories will help us understand how this works. I remember going into work one day, and I worked with this one guy, and what happened is this one guy mainly just made his money on Instagram. So he came from New York. He had a whole bunch of followers. He had like 50,000 followers on Instagram, and he didn't ever have to help customers. He just would go through his phone. He had a whole bunch of customers in his phone through social media, which is smart on his part. He was good at what he did in that retrospect, or that aspect. What happened was one time though, we were both standing there, we were talking. There was a lot of downtime when I worked there. We were in a suit, we're just kind of talking because we're waiting for customers to come in. It's not a crazy busy place because it's like a high-end place, so it's not like you helped 100 people a day. I used to work at Nordstrom's before that, and there I would help like 20, 30 people a day. This place though that I worked, it was like you helped like 8 people a day. And I remember that one time this lady came in. She was a lawyer, and she was with her mom, and she herself was like probably 50 years old, and her mom was like 80 years old. Her mom was pretty old, and she came in, and she had this New York attitude. New York attitude, because it's Barney's New York, especially in Vegas, but Barney's New York in Vegas attracts a lot of people from New York that are traveling to Vegas, so they'll come to Barney's New York because it feels like home to them. And New York attitude, sometimes they have very direct attitude. And she came in, and she was talking to this guy who was my coworker, and she wanted help. And he was supposed to help her because he was talking to her, and he passed off the customer to me because he didn't want to help her. And the thing is I heard what the customers were saying. The customers were saying, we want size 7 narrow and all of these things. We're a luxury store. We don't have like 7 narrow, which means that her foot's really skinny, and she had bunions on her foot, which means it's probably really uncomfortable shoes. So it looked like on the surface, this is going to be a customer that was hard to help, because there were so many different aspects of what she needed, and they just had this attitude that was kind of like very kind of like almost like they were irritated, So he passed on the customer because he didn't want to help them. And when he passed it off to me, and the moment there was this slight moment where I had a choice to make. Now, one choice was going to be I was going to be huffy and puffy and help them and be mad about it, which I kind of did for a second. I was like, you should, because he called, when he said, can you help them? He said it in front of the customer, so I wasn't able to say, no, you can help them because you already started talking to them, and they don't look like they're necessarily going to buy anyways when they come in with that attitude, and they come in talking about 7 narrow, and we don't even have any narrow shoes, you know what I mean? But I was like, you know what? I caught myself, and I said, I'm going to help this customer, and I'm going to just do it with the right attitude, even if they don't buy anything, because it's already too late. Like he said it in front of the customer, so I was like, okay, so I went, I helped them, and I had a good attitude, and I had a good state of being. And everything was like, even though at first they had kind of like a negative mindset, or like a very direct mindset, what I did is, because she kind of had an attitude with that other guy as well. So I was like, oh, that's a red flag. I don't really want to help them. But I was like, okay. I helped them. So I started helping them. I ended up connecting with them. She was a very successful lawyer. She's just from New York, so she had that kind of attitude. She ended up being very nice. They ended up buying like $6,000 worth of shoes. It was like 12 pairs of shoes. And it was easy. I would bring out shoes, and if it fit, they would buy it. So they tried on a whole bunch of different shoes, and it was just like her mom needed to buy her mom a whole bunch of shoes because she didn't have any shoes for the trip, and if it fit, she bought. So they ended up buying like 8 to 12 pairs of shoes. It ended up being like a $5,500 to $6,000 sale, and I remember him looking when I was ringing it up, and he was like, whoa. He's like, oh. He was kind of like, I wouldn't have passed it off if I would have known that. And I was kind of like, he probably wouldn't have sold that much because his attitude probably wouldn't have been there. I mean, I don't know, who knows. But do you see what I mean? Like that kind of attitude. So even if something negative happens, what you can do is you can make it a positive by knowing that the most important thing is your state of being. Your state of being is the most important thing. So focus more on that, because then nothing can bring you down. And there's something really powerful with momentum. So if you choose how you respond to the things that happen, your state of being will continue to go up. And that was something I learned from having a sales commission job where I only got paid based on a percentage that I sold. And I worked there for years, and I used the law of attraction, and that's what I learned. The state of being is key, because then your state goes up, and when your state of being goes up, you attract customers that are of a higher vibration. You attract people in that way. You can use this even if you don't have a sales commission job, though. Just know that every interaction you have, if you can focus on your state of being, on connecting with the other person, on being that, then you start to become and experience more and more of a higher vibrational day, and that will allow you to link to the next best thing, to the next best thing, to the next best thing. So I wanted to tell you the stories because there's something powerful in stories, and it's almost like it connects to the brain in a certain way. And anytime that you find yourself having a bad day, you can remember that story I just told, where there was negative thing that happened, appeared to be negative, chose my state of being, ended up being very positive. There are many times that things like that happen as well. So you can choose for that to be the case. You can choose your state of being. Now, when it comes to metaphors, imagine that what you want already exists. It already exists because anything we can imagine exists in some form. We just might not be able to physically see it. But knowing that, imagine that there's also this metaphor I wanted to share with you, that imagine it already exists. Let me kind of finish up this loop. Imagine what you want already exists, and it's more so you're gliding through to experience it. Almost like you don't have to try so hard to make it happen. It's like gliding as if you're skiing, and as you ski, you're able to feel that glideness. You're able to feel it just carries you. You got momentum that carries you. And as it carries you, you feel your vibration increase more and more. And when you get to that peak, you just know that things happen for you. Now, if you feel resistance in the process, I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Harry Potter. I think it was the first Harry Potter movie. I'm a big fan of Harry Potter, so I've wanted to use this analogy for a while. But in part of Harry Potter, the very first movie, or the very first book, there's this part in where Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry Potter's going through these little like obstacle courses. And when he's going through these little obstacle courses with Hermione and Ron, there's this part where they fall. They get into this, was the Chamber of Secrets? I forget where it was. It's either the first movie or the second movie. Anyways, inside the castle of Hogwarts, they get inside of this room that they go to that's kind of like a booby trap or obstacle that they have to get through, right? And they have to figure out and they have to get through this stuff. They get on top of this, they get inside this like chamber area. They fall on top of these vines. And these vines is like a bed of vines, and they move because, it's a magical place. And these vines move. And when they fall on top of this place, they're like, they fall on top of it like, this thing cushioned, this feels good, right? And then what happens is these vines start to move. And it starts to like go around them. It starts to strangle around their neck. Hermione, because she's all smart and stuff, is like, I know what this is. Just surrender. Just let go. Because if you let go, these things stop fighting you, and you just sink to the bottom of it. And then when you sink to the bottom of it, you go into this place to where they need to go. So the key was they had to learn how to let go. They had to learn how to relax. The more that they fought, because you start freaking out because something's grabbing around your neck, the more that it kept fighting you and the more that you were going to lose. But if you surrender, you just sink down. It stops fighting you and it sinks down, and then it works for you. It gets you safely to where you need to go. In the same way, many times in life, when we let go, we allow ourselves to surrender. We let go of resistance, we get where we need to be. The universe is always working with us. A key is, are we letting go? Are we allowing it to? So in the same way, the next time you find that you're resisting, you're fighting, remember this metaphor. Remember the bed of the vines that are alive. And then if you fight it, it coils up more and more. It starts to become more and more entangled, and it fights you back. But that's really not it fighting you back. It's just the resistance you feel, and it's going off of that resistance. Instead, surrender, relax, trust the process. You'll fall all the way through. You'll come through the other side to your goals, to where you want to be. So that's a powerful metaphor that has really allowed me to be something I remember. Okay, let go. Let go, let go. So I wanted to explain that to you as well. So in this video, you've heard me explain a couple different stories, a couple different metaphors that I think are powerful. The most important thing is your state of being. When you focus on that primarily, you'll find that things work out better for you. So to have an amazing day today, imagine yourself, the body language you'd be in to have a great state. Imagine how you'd be acting. Imagine the different levels of how you'd be interacting with other people. Have the focus to have an increased state of being and watch everything else fall into place anyways. That is where the power is. Now, if you want to learn how to increase your vibration, I've made a free guided meditation that will help you to raise your vibrational set point in general so that you vibrate at a higher level frequency with a high state of being. If you want that, it's absolutely free. It's going to be in the top of the description box below. I recommend that you list it for 21 days. Also, I'll be doing more live Q&As on Instagram. So if you haven't followed me on Instagram yet, you can follow me right here. I do live interactive Q&As. I do daily content there as well. So that's a good way, and you can always put suggestions in my comments of the posts that I do of types of videos you want me to do. So of course, let me know. And other than that, as always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like this video if you liked it, subscribe if you haven't already. Also hit the little notification gear. The way that YouTube does things is you actually have to hit that button in order to see the daily vids that I do. And other than that, as always, peace, much love, and namaste.